Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mosaic Maria. My name is Maria, and happy Wednesday, and thanks for being here. Okay, so I am kind of trying to find the best lighting, and I apologize. The lighting's going to be in and out because I'm going between rooms, and it's snowing outside, and it's really just dull. Even though it's snowing, there's no sunshine yet, so it's just kind of a dreary, snowy day. So I want to review a new book I got, and this is Call Me Anne by the wonderful Miss Anne Heche. Okay, and this is a um, sequel book to Call Me Crazy. For those of you that read Call Me Crazy, New York Times bestseller Call Me Crazy, where Anne tells her true life story of her childhood right up through the Ellen DeGeneres years and becoming a celebrity and getting married and all of being uh, her evolution and revelations of what it meant to be insane or called crazy or canceled or thought of as um, not lesbian enough, not gay enough, or betraying the gay community or betraying Ellen and everything. Call Me Crazy goes right up through that and talks a lot about how Anne felt about her father being the first man to be diagnosed with AIDS and her mother and father coming from such a Christian, hard-nosed Christian kind of fundy background and how they really lived. And Anne was really their supporting them. They were really homeless. They were like vagabonds. They were all over the place. And Anne, from a young age, took a job as a teenager in soap operas and um, just paved her own path and kept following this little voice inside of her that she came to finally know as God and what it meant to have to disassociate from a young girl in trauma and how that translated out into her life where she separated herself from Anne and became Celestia, which was her middle name, but she felt that was a person closer to God that protected her when she was younger and had better knowledge of truth of her circumstances around her in the universe. So how she was guided by God and Celeste and um, how she became Celeste, that's in Call Me Crazy. In this book, Call Me Anne, she goes full circle and comes back to, well, she was way before her time. And everybody's still having, like, nobody having trouble with saying they're fluid. They're just sexually fluid. They're just identity fluid, right? And now that people talk about Anne was one of the first people who was identity and sexual fluid, but nobody understood it. Um, but she couldn't understand, why do I have a label? Why do I still have to have a label? Why do you need to call me fluid? Fluid what? I'm liquid. What flavor am I? Why? Why do you keep trying to put me into a label? So, um, the book looks at everything that happened in her life through those years. So it's a definite sequel. And how she really got canceled in Hollywood. How it really, I wouldn't say it's a truth or tell-all book, although there's a few tidbits in there. I don't want to like ruin the book for people, but I'll share a few things that are really cute that I've always kind of known, but I didn't know how to explain it. And I'm like, oh, that's what that means. Okay, so um, in a lot of spiritual communities that are spiritual but not religious, we'll talk about the heart, mind, spirit triangle of consciousness and how if you're living consciously, you're living through what your heart is, um, more than your heart and your spirit are aligning with your mind, more than you're not really living for your body, although you're taking good care of your body. There's heart, mind, body triangle, and there's body, mind, spirit triangle, consciousness, and then there's heart, spirit, body, or heart, mind, body. You're always going to bring it into a triangle. So she talks about in LA or in Hollywood or whatever, how, or in conscious communities, how you see a lot of people doing this. Where do we see this? Hollyweird, Hollywood, right? We see this triangle everywhere. Triangle, triangle, triangle. Prince, Third Eye Girl, all of them, triangle, right? Everybody's making them. I remember seeing a picture of Michael Jackson being 10 years old and doing this. And Michael Jackson covering his eye when he was 8 years old. Okay, what does that all mean? It's not the Illuminati, you guys. It's not. I know. It's I've been telling you guys this for years. And I don't want to trigger anybody that was MK Ultra, whatever, programmed or Monarch programmed. Don't want to trigger you. What I want to tell you is that a lot of these things really don't mean the meaning we give them, like the number 666 or the Friday the 13th. And really, a lot of what Anne is saying in this book reminds me of a gal who was in the justice seeking community for Prince Rogers Nelson and getting justice for how he died, how he was murdered with drugs. And a lot of what she's saying is like, I almost thought, oh my gosh, I'm hearing um, validation and confirmation, definitely. And uh, it sounds like this other person is talking, like we give meaning to words that they don't have. And so she breaks down some words. I thought I was talking to a gal named Abigail by reading this. It's very conscious written. There's prose and poetry. It's kind of like a workbook and a life story sequel, and a full evolution of living in joy. Clarity, a dictionary of words used specifically. I want to talk about this. There's a lot of people in the poetry and writing community. You'll understand what we're talking about. Words are meant to build bridges that connect our minds and hopefully begin an open channel to communicate. For the purpose of understanding, we can all look these words up in the dictionary, but I am using them in a specific way in this book. So I want to be sure that you and I are on the same page. Word plus definition equals foundation for communication. Can't think of his name. I want to say Dr. Weiss, maybe. She's definitely got a lot of this. She's done a lot of studying of higher power consciousness and really spirituality. So she goes over the words commitments and what that means to her, how she's using it in the book, equality and what that means, because later in the book she talks about how words have gotten her in trouble and people want specific words that define you and put you in a box. And um, in this book, she's trying to define things without confining, describing without confining. Um, so risk, um, tolerance, possibility, choice, guidance, doubt, leader, respect, perspective, all these words. There's just a few pages of it. Um, Basically, she gives a cute little story about when she first went to make a movie with Harrison Ford, um, which was a really great movie. They're abandoned and all this cool stuff. I don't want to give the movie away. I don't want to give any spoilers away. Go look up the movies that she did with. It was the main movie she did with Harrison Ford. And it was right after she had been on a soap opera for a long time. And in soap opera, you're playing the same character unless your character has a twin, then you're playing a twin like she did. Or you're playing two characters. Or if your character is haunting someone and come back from the dead, you know how soap operas go. So, or you're in a backflash or whatever. So, or a dream. So there's all different ways in soap opera that they can bring characters back and they can keep you repeating the same old lines and working with the same people. But the one thing you always do in soap operas is kind of like hold that emotion, hold that stare, hold that last thing you said, like, but I love you. That big revelation, but I love you. But then you have to hold it until it phases out to the commercial. You've all seen these soap operas, how they dun, 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 and the music comes in, and now you're just waiting, like, but they never go back to that scene. They go back to another scene somewhere else, and you're like, what the? Okay, so you might not get called back in a soap opera to finish that, what you just did, for a few days, because they're going to go off to a different part of that town and visit the hospital, the coffee shop, the blah, and everybody else, and then come back to you. So there's several storylines going on at once in a soap opera, right? Okay, so, but in this movie, it was just two actors acting together. They're stuck on an island together. And so there were times Anne could like go off and yell and scream like, oh my God, I can't believe the plane crashed and we're stuck here or whatever, and do her own thing. But most times she had to be really just looking at Harrison Ford and talking to him and him talking to her. So it was just the two of them. So whenever they would go to do their scene, um, whether it was a funny scene or an intense scene, her eyes would kind of just do this thing that if you've ever seen her in a soap opera, she looked kind of lost. Like her eyes would kind of go um, like that, kind of just daze out and say the lines, but look up into the person's face. Harrison Ford said, don't look at my left eye. Don't look at my left eye. Okay? Just look at my right eye. When you're saying your lines, just look at my right eye. Why? Why would I want to do that? I want to say my lines to all of you, to you, give meaning to you, play off of you. You know, like actors do, they play off each other to you. It will be more meaningful. It will be more. He said, no. That's soap opera acting. And she didn't know whether to take it as an insult or what. He said, for this, you want to look at my right eye. He said, where's the camera? She said, over your shoulder. He said, what side is done? She said, over your right shoulder. Okay. Most people in Hollywood, when they're being filmed, whether they're on the stage singing or even politicians know this, when they're coming out on stage, a lot of the cameras are over right shoulders. So you're going to look to the, and they do it, they look to the right. They look to the right. They don't kind of like just be all over or they look lost. He kept telling her, just look at the right eye. And she didn't want to do that. And so when they started again, he covered his left eye. And when she delivered her lines, just looking at his right eye, it totally translated as to that kind of like Robert Redford, Michelle Pfeiffer, up close and personal, eating the camera lens scene where Michelle Pfeiffer just eats the lens kind of thing. Because you're looking at the camera is over the right shoulder. So you see a lot of people in Hollywood doing this. A little pyramids. Are they reminding each other heart, mind, spirit? Live consciously, heart, spirit, body. Are and when they're doing this, are they or this? Because the camera can be on over another shoulder. Are they reminding cameras over here or cameras over here? Cameras over here. Cameras over here. Why are they doing that? reminding, always play to the camera, always with paparazzi when they're out, when they're representing, when they're so a lot of it isn't Illuminati nutty craziness. A lot of it isn't that. It really is just more practical than that. Um, she talks about lessons learned and how she used Celeste in ways that she now has evolved to realize she didn't need a Celeste to teach her these lessons. She always knew these lessons, and um, taking personal accountability for her own emotional feelings. She gives a lot of great stories here. Okay. Uh, Ask, don't tell. I want to read one poem before I go. It's a quick read, but it's a workbook, and it is a beautiful sequel. It's partly a memoir, and um, it seems unfinished because it is, and should still be with us. And God rest her soul. And did not have any drugs or alcohol, not any illicit drugs that she took. Um, she was speaking out about Hollyweird at the time of her death. She also was going through a horrible custody battle, um, still, uh, for her youngest child. And um, she was finally starting to speak out about how she was like pro like actively there were campaigns like shut down Anne, like just keep her out, don't give her any really big work, don't let her talk, don't invite her, don't yeah, because she wasn't gay enough, she wasn't she betrayed the lesbian community, she hurt Ellen, and Ellen was everyone's hero. um on Better Together with Anne and Heather, with Heather Duffy, who, by the way, Heather, this book is dedicated to her children and Heather Duffy, who showed her what love was. Um, she does spill and dish about uh, her her thoughts that Ellen um, ran with, really kind of took her story and brand, which Anne's brand was always just be kind, just be you. The message of this book is be you and let others be themselves and be kind to them. Just be kind. And that she kind of alludes to in interviews and stuff that Ellen was more into making the money and advancing her career than worrying about being kind, and but that she saw the two-edged sword with female comedians where they were kind of they had to um be a little bit uh, more like a male and curse and be kind of aggressive, um, and maybe tell some off-color jokes and use language that people weren't used to women using, um, and go to topics to compete with male um, comedians. And then they were looked at as um, trashy or whatever. So Ellen was more so dealing with that. Like, I want to go there. I don't want to have to go there with my comedy, but in order to compete with male comedians, and we saw that with Roseanne Barr, with Joan Rivers, with so many, Rosie O'Donnell. Uh, you don't see many girly girl, feminine, quiet, petite kind of comedians. They have to throw a little bit of dirt in there. And Ellen was more dealing with that during the time of their breakup. And how do I make this HBO comedy special work and all that? Um, But people really were confused by how could you fall in love with a man after being with a woman and so openly. Um, because she never assigned herself a label. Okay, so her poem, yeah, she talks about the triangle of consciousness a lot. So I'm going to read her poem, and that's the only thing I'm going to read from the book because I really don't want to, okay, really don't want to ruin this. But joy, kindness, and truth is all through this book. Joy, kindness, and truth, and just be you. And question. Don't tell, question. Um, question your belief system. Question dogmatic religiosity. Question politics, government, words. Question the meaning in things. Okay, so be a little philosophical. And so her poem in her introduction is called More. Take the bait, fly to nowhere. Who do you think you are? Special is ego, unworthy, the same. If we don't see the challenge, we remain tame. The system controls us, our stupidity a trap. It's time for a call out, a universal slap. Wake up, folks, trapped in the shell. So afraid to be broken, we're told we'll see hell. What a farce. And what if we see what? See what? Something ugly? Something that's not for me? So say goodbye and turn away. Fear is not a place of obedience to stay. Ever evolving, moving in turn, say yes to the notion. We are here, here to learn. Dark's just a country. Nothing goes in without our approval. Not children anymore. Our choice is what we stand for. Light is my anchor. I'll help it be yours. I'll reflect it in my actions, the strength of yours. There is nothing we cannot overcome. If it went in feeling bad, we know where it came from. I will help release you from the burden from which you come. This darkness is like a wave. Say okay, then send it away. Bow down to others, they mirror yourselves. The judgment of others is where we drown. Are you ripe or are you vacant, sitting in holes of discontentment, seeking a win of false containment? Our ideology has no sustainment. Contagious wonder changes the whole. Does it matter to you? Do you have a role? Here's a presumption. Take control. Your universe awaits you. Dare to unfold. I can't say that I can't do this. The commitment to love offers bliss. Test my crazy, crucify my wrong. I've lived too long to not sing my song. Risk takes courage. Courage is strength. To know yourself is the biggest risk you'll take. My name is Anne. I am the same as you. You've been told before. I say it again. The God that's in me is the God that's in you. The triangle of consciousness is a simple equation. Heart, mind, and body equal in passion. Not one or other has greater power, equal in strength, serving one another. There is no one greater than any other. Um, if you look at her eyes here, this is kind of how her eyes looked when she was giving her lines to Harrison Ford without looking directly in the camera. But like in her soap opera days kind of thing. Um, and then more direct, like that's the only way I can explain it. So I'll read the back cover. Praise for Call Me Crazy, a brave, funny, Irresistible and Wise Companion on the Long Journey Home by Gloria Steinman. Heche is a superb narrator, raw with emotion. Her voice is by turns sorrowful, enraged, and hopeful, drawing the listener into her story. Publishers Weekly. The memoir by Anne Heche is as personal as it gets, offering a peek inside the mind of the late Emmy award-winning actress, director, and author of the New York Times bestseller Call Me Crazy. Call Me Anne is the sequel to Anne Heche's first book, Call Me Crazy, a memoir consisting of personal anecdotes of her rise to fame, how Harrison Ford became her on-set mentor, her relationship with Ellen DeGeneres, her encounter with Harry Weinstein. I would say trigger warning for folks that have a hard time with that, and her history of childhood sexual abuse, her relationship with God, her journey to love herself, and more. Part memoir, part self acceptance workbook, Anne's personal stories are interwoven with poems, prompts, and exercises that got her through tough times. Lots of meditations and yoga and cool things in here. Readers are encouraged to try them as they navigate their own journey to self-love, acceptance, forgiveness, and faith. Anne Heche. Call me Anne. And again, I just want to say there were no drugs, no alcohol found in her system when she died. And of course, TMZ was right there, helicopters looking at everything. The truth is, she was left in a car to burn in flames. She was left in a car in flames for almost 45 minutes because they didn't know she was there. Because people were tending to other things. The firefighters were tending to the woman in the house. And even though neighbors were saying there was a woman in the car, they didn't see her. She was trying to get away from the smoke. Knew she couldn't go near the flames. And I don't know why her car was going that way, but I do know that she had complained about her car having trouble with it accelerating when she didn't. It was like computerized, like she couldn't control the acceleration of it and slow it down. Um, and that her car was going to be going into the shop again for that purpose. It kept accelerating. And I also know she stopped in the hairdresser's shop to get a blue wig that she saw in the window that was kind of dusty and messed up and didn't have anymore. So the owner offered her a red wig. She took a selfie with him. She was lucid. She was fine. Um, I do believe that the paparazzi spotted her and that she tried to take a detour to get away from them and that something was wrong with her car. I will always believe that. I don't believe, um, I mean, the medical examiner has gone to great lengths to say there was no alcohol in her system, and the drugs that were in her system were the ones that were administered on the ambulance and in the hospital. So, um, she was writing a book. She was doing interviews. She was talking about being canceled in Hollywood, about Harvey Weinstein, about Ellen DeGeneres, about just some really seedy stuff that happened in Hollywood that people don't get. And she was telling truth about the universe and God and trauma and about trauma bonding and about generational trauma and about breaking those cycles. And she was telling a lot of truth about God and religiosity and dogma and church life and having people that have relationships with a church like a club and their spiritual community, but they don't actually have a relationship with God, and they're not following a conscious heart, mind, body life. They're they're um, they're succumbing to the flesh, and so and being totally human and still being God's child, being totally human in all your frailty, all your mistakes, all your drama, all your trauma, all your failures, and still being God's child, and God loving you and you loving yourself. It's really a beautiful book, you guys. It's beautiful. No matter if you're Jewish, if you are Muslim, if you're Buddhist, whatever. It's not a religious book. It's just a spiritual book. It's a higher self-awareness. And um, the message I got from this was she went ahead and said, "Okay, call me crazy," but she wasn't crazy. She was never crazy. Okay, so redefining words and the meaning we give words, the way words become, oh, I can't say them. Just look around YouTube. There's so many words we can't say. We can't say a person killed themselves or suicide because if we're monetized, we might get our channel taken away. We can't talk politics. We can't say a person was sexually abused, or we can't say child pornography. We can't say domestic violence. We can't say rape. We can't say. Somebody could say that word triggered me. We are no longer communicating real words. We are censored already. We are self-censoring. We are allowing ourselves to be censored, and we are actually dumbing down these things that have happened to so many people because you can't say the words. Because we have given those words such horrible meaning of triggering and everything. So, and we've gone back to it's taboo to say it, you can't say it, you'll get. So, why do you see in Hollywood people doing this? So, all these things we can't, don't say, right? And, and, so, could it be that people in Hollywood, Hollyweird, in the entertainment field, music, Hollywood, are saying, remember, heart, heart, mind, spirit, remember, stay conscious, going on stage, remember, live consciously, heart, mind, spirit. Could they be saying this? Could they be saying, look out for the camera, look out for the camera? Because people are hunted like prey by the paparazzi everywhere. So even when they're off stage, look for the camera, play to the camera, and can't say that. Can't say that. Anne was revealing all that. Beautiful book, guys. Get a copy. Then go over to visit Better Together with Anne and Heather on Instagram, on her podcast. They're carrying on. And I hope that they'll get to read some of this for everyone. And I send love out to them. Okay. That's my book review. I hope you'll get it and read it. And much love to Lisa Marie Presley, who was writing her book at the time of her death, too. And her children, much love to them. And it seems insignificant to say I'm going to send prayers, but I've been praying for comfort for her mother, her daughters, her grandchildren, her half brother, half sister, her family and friends and loved ones. Okay, take care, everyone. Bye bye.